When I was a little girl, my grandmother would start her day at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. And when I would wake up, I would join her at that table and we would talk, we would laugh, and I would listen and I would learn. Sometimes she would talk to her girlfriends and I would soak it all in. They talked about life, they talked about love, but mostly she talked about being ferociously her, being her authentic self in a world that didn't always accept who she was, how she was, or that she was. But she didn't let that stop her. She made shift happen anyway. My granny's not with us anymore, but that doesn't mean the laughing and the learning has to stop. Join me, ladies and gentlemen, at my kitchen table, and let's keep talking shift.
You're listening to Talking Shift, the podcast, with your host, Marissa Q. Paine. Talking Shift is a trademarked production of Marissa Q. Paine International, your source for coaching and consulting when you need a major shift in life or leadership.
Have bag, will travel.
For more information, visit MarissaQPaine.com.
Get you some good friends when you're going through your shift. That's the message here.
For now, listen, learn, and laugh with your host, Marissa Q. Paine.
Emphasis on at the moment.
Hey friends, I am so excited to be welcoming you to something new. If you've been following me for a while, then you probably know that Talking Shift, the podcast, is my second go round at podcasting. And this time I am flying solo. So I'm just going to keep it all the way real with you and let you know that I am super nervous. And that's just the truth. But I am more excited than I am nervous. And so I want to tell you a little bit about the vision so that you can know what to expect and begin to get us into your podcast routine, because I think something really special is going to happen in this iteration of the shift movement. So if you are new to me, I also want to give you an opportunity to get to know me, both through myself and also I've invited some folks that know me that will talk shift with me. I thought that that would be a great way for you to learn a little bit about your host without me blabbing about myself too much. But I think the best way to give you a feel for what we're trying to accomplish with Talking Shift is to tell you a little bit about my own shift. And there have been many. So when I think about making change, making transition, being disruptive in life, right? Taking the road less traveled. That's really what we're talking about. We're talking about what it takes to follow your own path after you have been raised and reared and cultivated to go in one direction. What happens when you decide that direction isn't working for you? That's sort of the planned shifts, right? But also in life, there are unplanned shifts as well. What happens when life deals you blows that you weren't expecting? When you had the plan and you were planning to do exactly like the plan said, and then something pops up and it completely blows the plan up. Right? So in life, we have both planned and unplanned shifts, transitions, changes that set our life on a different course than we were expecting. And so I figured I could go ahead and tell you a little bit about some of mine, just to give you a teaser for what you can expect. And know that over the next period of time that we'll be together, this is what we'll be talking about. Sometimes it'll be deep and meaningful and really, really serious. Sometimes it'll be lighthearted, right? I'm a little bit of both, and I give myself permission to be both, right? By day, I am an executive coach and consultant. I work with organizations in managing change and transition. In my personal life, I am mom and friend and sister and aunt, sorority member, and I like to have fun. Like joy is a theme. Sometimes I will come to you in the strength of my experience and credentials as a coach and consultant. And sometimes I'll come to you in the vulnerability of my journey as a regular old woman. I want to let you in on a little secret. When I was growing up, I was an aspiring journalist. This is the funny thing about this podcast. And Marissa Q. Paine was my newspaper byline. In elementary school, I wrote for the Woodland Watcher. I attended Woodland Elementary School, and that was our paper. And that byline I carried with me all the way through college. I was the editor of the high school newspaper. I attended workshops with the National Association of Black Journalists. I even secured a coveted college scholarship to go to the number one school of journalism in the world. From the daily newspaper in my hometown. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I was on path to do it until I wasn't. When I was in college and my early 20s, I went through a series of unexpected shifts. My I had an unplanned pregnancy, which, of course, my son, who is now 28 years old, was, one of the best things that ever happened to me. But at the time, it was, an unexpected thing that sort of threw off my education. My grandmother, who was my very best friend, suffered a stroke, an aneurysm, went into a coma for several months, and eventually passed away. My grandfather remarried very quickly after she died and moved out of my childhood home. I was in an abusive marriage and eventually separated and found myself as a college dropout with a baby on the way. And essentially, if I had passed that confident girl who knew exactly what she wanted to do with her life on the street, I would not have recognized her. I was as far away from the most likely to succeed that my classmates had voted me as I could possibly be. And of course, I didn't know it then, but the beginning of the shift journey and the shift movement was happening in my life at the time. And that's the thing about purpose is that, it begins to manifest itself to us usually long before we actually know it. I'm saying that to say that. Um, Journalist is what I wanted to do, but for 20, 25 years, it's the direct opposite of what I did, right? I had a career in nonprofit management. And then from there, I went on to start a consulting business serving the nonprofit sector. I found my real gift in coaching and have been doing that for probably the last 10 years. And here I am now in the middle of yet another major shift as I transition out of, a 30-year marriage and relationship into, this next iteration of my life. And I find myself with a microphone in my hand, preparing to interview other people that have made major shifts in their life, feeling kind of journalistic-y. Not quite journalist, but journalistic-y, right? And, if you know anything about the love that I have for my grandmother and the grit and the resilience that I gained from who she was at the time when, she was sassy and classy and outspoken at a time when she was supposed to be quiet and meek. I am her child, essentially. And so this is a full circle moment for me and the movement that I've created. And I'm excited to be here and excited to present to you Talking Shift, the podcast, which is a way for me and for our movement to bring the stories of disruption, the stories of resilience, of grit, of going at it a different way when it's planned and when it's unplanned. I'm so excited to sit at the kitchen table and share with you and talk and learn and continue the journey, both in my strength and in my weakness. Welcome to Talking Shift, the podcast.
You've been listening to Talking Shift, the podcast, with your host, Marissa Q. Paine. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, like or subscribe for future episodes, and leave us a review. Talking Shift is a trademark production of Marissa Q. Paine International, your source for coaching and consulting when you need a major shift in life or leadership. For more information, visit marissaqpaine.com or follow us in social spaces at Marissa Q. Paine.